the belly. They're burning with it. As if they need a motive greater than an MCG final, these two have a history, ancient and modern. The Hawks are the Cats' September bogey. Geelong hasn't beaten Hawthorn in a final since 1963. That day they didn't need a scoreboard. Bobby's face told the story. And everyone remembers the greatest boil-over of recent times, 2008. It was the one that Geelong wasn't supposed to lose. Hawthorn hasn't beaten the Cats since. But the unsociable Hawks are playing on the edge, committed to destroying their nemesis. Yes! The Cats and Hawks have fought out 6 home and away thrillers since 2008, with 5 single-digit margins. They've been dynamic, aggressive, compelling.
How does he manage this? He takes a beauty! Bang! And kicks the goal!
Both clubs have infused youngsters with their big occasion performers. And they've confounded the critics who forecast they were on the slide.
Gee, they're going in now. He's got it! Magnificent kick, it's a goal! This is as good as it gets.
History says this will be another epic. History says this will go down to the wire. This is finals football.
He hesitates, takes Varco on. Well, that's confidence. The kick not so good, though. Thought too much about it. Kelly sends it back inside the forward 50. Right on the line, in fact. Johnson spilt the mark. Varco gets the crumb. Goes to Menzel. 5 last week. Gets the first tonight.
That's a long ball to 50. Taylor and Hale. And now Buddy. He's in a good spot for him. Impossible for most. Perfect for him. Johnson short. Does he use him? He should. He does. And Stevie J gets the bounce. Does he take Saul on? Decides not to. Measures the left foot. Hawkins caught behind. Bartel takes the mark as he so often does.
Podsiadly, Selwood, just one man inside the forward 50. Johnson well up the ground. He's about 80 metres out. Looks back towards the middle. That's a beautiful kick.
And then scurries towards Franklin and got him. Free kick, I think. No, still play on. Now it's Johnson on the left, looking good! Oh. So that must have almost hit the bottom of the post.
Duncan gets it away to Johnson, there's the siren. Half time.
That's the dangerous matchup for Hawthorn.
Back in the middle, hooked down by Bailey. Spills Hawthorn's way, taken by Bruce. Gets the hand pass to Mitchell. He needs to spark up, and he does with a brilliant kick.
Good kick into the centre.
Duncan's ball finds Johnson on the bounce, but effective nevertheless inside the forward 50. Wonderful. Oh, Hawkins. He's played a game. Gibson controlled it pretty well. Into the path of a couple of teammates. Both of them a little too bright. Well done, Hawkins. Stokes gives it to Johnson. Johnson's away. Now he lobs this one into the path of Podsiadly. And Podsiadly's path is good enough.
Really clever kick from Steve Johnson. Didn't overkick it, knew exactly where the space had to go.
Gee, no free kick to Johnson. Cats surging here. Christensen brilliantly. Selwood just couldn't get anything on it. Hawkins, oh, he's having a night out, Tom. He's a big Tomcat tonight.
That's terrific. Wonderful awareness. He turned on a 5-cent piece. Selwood out of the middle. And speaking of turning, this game has suddenly turned. Ottens won't get to the contest. Johnson will. Johnson! Around the corner, sockers another one. How about this? 3 goals, 2 of them sockered. And suddenly the margin is 21 points.
Centre clearance and sound like a broken record, Lee.
Fantastic effort by Johnson. Great centre clearance from Selwood. How's the control of that soccer? That is just a great skill execution.
There might be more in a minute. Hawkins kept his head. and finds Johnson.
That was a terrifically strong mark, and then finds Johnson. Then proceeds to kick it right to the 50, and a strong mark is taken by Johnson. Taylor, the fend-off could have been high. Oh, Buddy! How about that? He's got 4.
So the little one to himself by Guerra. Johnson.
In behind the defence. One of whom, Christensen, takes the mark, centres to Steve Johnson. Well, Johnson has been everywhere on the compass in this turn. Off Christensen, goes to Birchall, there's the siren. Wow.
5th consecutive preliminary final for the Cats. Cameron Ling, slowly but surely, leads them out onto the ground with Steve Johnson, James Podsiadly. Trent West got a big occasion today for him. He's taken the second ruck spot with Brad Altons, and we know that Brad Altons is a wonderful, consistent performer in finals. If I had to ask you the same question, who's the Geelong player that Chris Scott would want to fire today?
Well, it's Stevie J for me, Hutto. He's dangerous in that half-forward line. He can take a turn in the midfield. He's capable of kicking 4 or 5 goals himself and setting others up. He's unselfish.
Natanui trying to get it again to the third of the Selwoods. Adam.
He's had the first 2 clearances of the match. Joel Selwood looks ominous.
To Ottens into the fray now, and Kelly, a first-time All-Australian this year. Good ball to Johnson, outpointing Adam Selwood, wanting to move it on, gives to Mackie.
Johnson swung on a little bit too early and looked up, and there was nobody to go to, and so rather than just bomb it in, he looked outside and found Mackie. I think he was his get-out clause.
Kick in on the bounce. Johnson had to wait a little longer than he would have preferred, but his kick and what he's done with it is outstanding, and it's in Wojcinski's hands. He's got the big man Lynch bearing down, decides to go by foot to Podsiadly, back to Wojcinski. Had to change his mind, but he made an excellent decision, and Chapman work from Taylor and gives Maston a bit of an opportunity.
Second time Johnson's just made his presence felt, and the Cats set it all up again, and they're doing it with ease on the build-up. Johnson at the drop here. Kicking hasn't been great so far. Hawkins has got this. Play on the call, providing a target out on the wing. Steve Johnson.
And Kelly continues his supreme form. Off to Steve Johnson to half-forward Podsiadly, controlling it in the air and on the ground. Christensen knew that Maston was hunting. Bartel, the man freed up is Selwood. Not a good strike, but it comes back for a goal. And Geelong back out beyond 20. And now Ling off the right. Oh, Johnson almost dragged it down in amongst a couple of Eagles. Can't escape out of there. The Geelong forwards doing their defensive job, and they've won themselves a free. That might have been tough on the young man.
Andrew, if you dive on the football, you must successfully knock it clear.
Well, we know that Ray knows the rules.
We're at half-time in a preliminary final, and there will be belief there. I think it's windier than we think too. I mean, we're in the box up here. It is swirling around, and Johnson just didn't want to kick from that position. You could see his hair was really blowing, and that to me says that it's a lot blowier and swirlier than we might have anticipated.
Chapman winds up. Top of the square, Podsiadly. It's going to fall a bit short. West got into the mix. Shuey left it behind. Steve Johnson's bouncing kick went just the right way. There was a touch. No, it wasn't.
Well, he got away from Adam Selwood. As that ball was kicked in, Selwood, you can just see there, Selwood just gives him 5 metres. Well, give him an inch, he'll take a mile, Stevie J. You can see he picks it up, quick snap. Goal post camera shows you the ball going through the sticks.
Deft kick over the top. Selwood takes it, can't go long. He knew that, had to wait with a handball. Treading water, Steve Johnson, rangy handball. Bartel, now he's in full flight. Selwood ducks inside the brother and kicks to Podsiadly, who didn't mark but did get a free.
We got an injury and looks like a bad one. But the effort of Joel Selwood to double up and run hard created this shot at goal.
I think it might be Steve Johnson.
Well, he got the handball out, didn't he? Out wide.
He's in a lot of pain.
Premiership could hang on that.
Podsiadly lines up, but all eyes are on Steve Johnson. Cats lead by 32. But it's a strangely quiet crowd. It will clap the goal. No, they lead by 38. We'll check on Stevie J in a moment.
And the trainers are waving to the bench.
Stevie J's.
He's grabbing his knee.
Yeah. Oh, golly.
He's gone straight to the left knee, Steve Johnson. And a lot of concern out on the field.
He had a body crush across it. Didn't look good.
This is a disaster for Geelong.
Norm Smith medalist.
Match winner.
He is in agony from what we can see. Steve Johnson appears in terrible trouble.
Oh!
Adam Waits.
Mark McClure said it in one, Jared. The leg got tangled up. It's the left knee. He knew immediately that he was in trouble.
That is awful.
Mitch Duncan, who is the sub, he was immediately up to his feet. So this is not a good situation at all for Geelong and Steve Johnson.
And he is the X factor in that team. He's won a Norm Smith medal, second leading goal kicker for the club behind Pod. Great assist player.
It's interesting the way he's moving his knee, Hutto. You wouldn't have thought they'd allow that if it was a full-blown ACL.
This is Stevie Johnson live now coming up onto the ground. It'll all be about recovery now for Stevie Johnson. Whether they can treat him as a 6-day injury, a 6-week injury, that'll be the story, Hutto.
The crowd seeing it on the big screen and play underway.
How good, son.
Oh, this is inspirational.
What a reaction.
So Steve Johnson is up and walking.
The man in the red vest, Steve Johnson.
Drewy will get him in the boat.
I wonder what's going through his head at this stage.
Howie, you've been rubbing shoulders with the great one. What can you tell us?
Well, he's reasonably positive, Stevie Johnson. We just had a chat with him. He's reasonably cagey, as you would imagine, but he said, listen, it's nowhere near as bad as they first thought. They do believe there's a dislocation in there. So what about next week? He said, mate, there's 6 days. I'm going to do everything I can. Still in with a chance to play next week. So Stevie Johnson, it's a massive story.
He's come to the bench. He's got a fair bit of, I'm not sure whether it's tape or it's some sort of protective mechanism on that knee. His body language isn't great, but the fact that he's been able to walk the whole way from the Geelong rooms along the boundary to the dugout has to be.
If he was really serious, they wouldn't let him be on his feet.
Exactly.
Let me tell you that.
It's all over. Geelong have won by 48 points for the 4th time in 5 years. The Cats are through to the last game of the year, when they will seek atonement against the Magpies in the 2011 AFL Grand Final. Mark Howard.
Stevie Johnson, a wonderful win for your footy club, first of all.
Yeah, it was. Come out, not knowing what to expect. They've had a great year, West Coast, and to play the way we did is really exciting and great to look forward to next week.
What about the knee, mate? What's the early prognosis?
There's no prognosis yet. I'll need a scan probably early next week, so I'll see what happens.
You still seem hopeful when you're walking around the boundary line. The Geelong fans were cheering when you walked you back out on the ground.
Yeah, I felt a bit better when I heard the cheers, but yeah, we'll just have to see what happens.
Mate, every football fan out there will be hoping to see you next Saturday.
Thanks, Haley. Cheers, mate.
The big talking point today, though, is the injuries to Geelong and injuries to Collingwood. Steve Johnson for the Cats and Darren Jolly is the big one for the Magpies. This is Steve Johnson this morning, fellas.
That's encouraging, Luke, to see him walking like that, because when we saw the incident in slow motion on Saturday, you thought he had no hope.
Yeah, absolutely. It just looked like it was an ACL. We're in a similar position with Buddy Franklin, weren't we? He went on to play 2 really good finals after looking like a season-ending knee injury. So let's say fingers crossed for Stevie Johnson.
We spoke to Steve this morning. This is what he had to say.
Are you optimistic, Steve, of playing next week?
Oh, of course I am, yeah. I'm hopeful, but I don't know the extent, so yeah, as I said, after the scan I'll know more.
How's it all feeling though this morning?
Oh, a little bit sore, but yeah, you'd expect that. Yeah, thank you.
Now, the good news is Geelong released a statement late this afternoon. There is no structural damage whatsoever. Obviously, it's badly swollen.
He's making progress literally by the hour. Geelong, again, is not going to play their hand early in the week. I think he's a 90% chance to play. I mean, I think that Geelong have to make a decision about his agility. We know how agile he can be around the ground. The medial side of his knee has got ligament injury. There's no structural damage deeper inside. So he's having hyperbaric treatment in Melbourne. He's having strapping. He's having physio. He's having ice treatment. He's having prayer. You know, everything that goes together. I think he's a really good prospect to play.
Let's start with Steve Johnson. We saw those helicopter shots yesterday in his allegedly secret training session. He had a painkilling injection before the session, got through beautifully. The question is, boys, and you've been there and done that, how is the knee pulled up after the injection and the training session?
I'd suggest it'd be pretty sore, but I would think also he may have even had another run this morning to make sure.
He's going to have another test this morning.
Well, that's going to be the real crunch time for him.
That looks pretty good to me.
It does. I mean, I must admit, during the week, having looked at him limp around, I thought, gee, there's no way he can play. But based on what we've seen there,
I reckon he'll play.
I reckon you're right.
Michael, did you play with many painkillers during games?
Occasionally, yeah. Had a few issues.
Malcolm, were you a fan of it?
Yeah, well, yeah, you had to play sometimes. So yeah, I had too many there for a while.
And particularly in big games, Malcolm. I mean, I mean, sometimes you hear, particularly in today's football, well, I could have played, but it's a home and away season, so we don't want to.
Grand final, different set of rules.
Different set of rules, and you do everything you can to get. You get to the day.
I don't reckon Chris Scott or Steve Johnson will dud themselves. If he's that fit, moving like that, they will play him because they can inject him again at half time.
He is the man of the moment, and that is Stevie J. Steve, welcome to the parade once again. You've had a fitness test this morning. How did it all go?
Yeah, it went really well. I was put through my paces in a pretty heavy session, and I felt really good. So, providing I pull up well tomorrow, I'm right to play.
Are you confident that you'll pull up well from what you felt through in the week?
Well, it's hard to say because, it was a test and I haven't been in this situation before, but, my knee felt as good as it could throughout the session today, so I'm reasonably confident that it'll be right in the morning.
Are you surprised that you've been able to make such progress after you did it last week? Did you think the season was over?
Oh, for sure. I was in excruciating pain there last Saturday and, basically, almost given up hope straight away, but I suppose we've left no stone unturned in trying to get the body right. I've done all I can, and today I got through the session with no pain, so hopefully that's a good indicator.
Out of 100, if you line up tomorrow, what percentage will you be at?
99 to 100.
Good luck, Stevie J. I'm sure all the Cats fans are hoping you're out there.
Thanks a lot.
There you go, Sandy, the man of the moment. He says he's pretty confident he'll be out there tomorrow.